The most dangerous moment of your entire day doesn't look dangerous at all. It doesn't come with warning signs, loud stress, or visible pressure. It happens quietly, automatically, within the first few hours after you wake up, when your body is doing exactly what it was designed to do. In this video, you'll understand what really happens inside your body in the first moments after waking, why your cardiovascular system is under the most strain during this window, and how simple overlooked factors shape your risk, your energy, and your entire day. Before we go further, make sure to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so you don't miss more clear, research-based content like this. It starts while you're still asleep. In the final 20 to 30 minutes before waking, before your alarm, before any awareness reaches your mind, your body has already begun preparing for the day. The process is not triggered by waking, it predicts it. Deep in your brain, a small structure called the suprachiasmatic nucleus acts as your internal clock. It has been tracking time continuously, sending signals through the nervous system to prepare your body for the transition from sleep to wakefulness. One of its first actions is activating your adrenal glands. These glands begin increasing production of cortisol, a hormone often associated with stress, but in this context, it plays a very different role. It is not reacting, it is initiating. Through a precise biochemical pathway, cholesterol is converted step by step into cortisol. Each stage accelerates as waking approaches. By the time your eyes open, cortisol levels are already rising, and then the surge begins. Within 30 to 45 minutes after waking, cortisol increases dramatically by 50 to 100% above its nighttime baseline. This is known as the cortisol awakening response, and it is the highest point your cortisol will reach all day. This surge is not accidental. It is the system that brings you online. Cortisol mobilizes stored energy by releasing glucose from the liver into the bloodstream. Your brain and muscles receive the fuel they need to shift from sleep mode to active function. At the same time, your heart rate increases and your blood pressure rises. Your body is turning on. Core temperature begins to climb as well. After reaching its lowest point during the night, your body temperature rises steadily in the first hour after waking. This is why you often feel cold when you first get out of bed, and noticeably warmer a short time later. What you're feeling is not the room changing, it's your body activating. At the same time, other hormones contribute to this transition. Testosterone reaches its daily peak in the morning, adding drive and motivation to the metabolic activation already underway. Blood flow to the brain increases, especially to areas responsible for decision-making and focus. Even your immune system is involved. Cells that were inactive during sleep begin preparing to circulate again, ready to monitor and respond to threats throughout the day. All of this happens quickly. Within less than an hour, your body shifts from a state of conservation to a state of full operation. Breathing becomes shallower and more alert. Awareness of your surroundings begins to form even before your eyes open. You've felt this before, that moment when you wake just before your alarm. The sense that your body is already active before your mind is fully caught up, the transition from deep sleep to light awareness. That is the launch sequence, and it is precise. It runs every day without needing your attention, without requiring any action from you. Your body has been doing this since the beginning of your life. But here's the part most people don't realize. The same hormones that wake you up are also the ones that create the highest level of cardiovascular stress you will experience all day. As cortisol rises, another group of chemicals, catecholamines like adrenaline and noradrenaline, also increase. Together they create a specific physiological state. Your blood pressure rises sharply. Your heart rate increases by up to 25% compared to its sleeping level. As a result, your arteries narrow slightly during this time, and your blood itself changes. Platelets, the components responsible for clotting, become more active and more likely to stick together. At the same time, your body's ability to break down clots is at its lowest point during the early morning. Your blood is thicker, stickier, harder to move. And all of this happens at once. This combination, higher pressure, narrower vessels, more active clotting, and reduced clot breakdown, creates a temporary window where the cardiovascular system is under its greatest strain. This is not caused by stress. It is built into your biology. Studies tracking hundreds of heart attacks have shown a clear pattern. There are significantly more cardiovascular events between 6 and 10 in the morning than at any other time of day. Not because mornings are difficult, but because your body is transitioning. The system that wakes you up is the same system that increases mechanical stress on your arteries. If those arteries are healthy, they handle the surge without issue. If they are not, the outcome can be very different. And this is where the story becomes more important, because the morning does not begin in isolation. It is shaped by what happened the night before. The state of your body when you wake up is not random. It is the result of a process that started hours earlier while you were asleep. And understanding that connection is what changes everything. Because the cardiovascular system does not wake up from a neutral state. It carries forward whatever the night produced. And the quality of that night determines how well your body can handle the surge that follows. During healthy sleep, your body enters a state known as nocturnal dipping. This is a natural reduction in blood pressure, typically around 10 to 20% below daytime levels. It is not passive. It is an active recovery phase where the cardiovascular system gets time to repair. As you sleep, sympathetic nervous system activity decreases and the parasympathetic system becomes dominant. Your heart rate slows, blood vessels relax, the pressure on arterial walls drops. This creates a window where the lining of your blood vessels, the endothelium, can repair the small amounts of damage caused during the day. Your arteries regain flexibility. The smooth muscle in vessel walls relaxes. Circulation becomes more efficient. However, this vital process takes time to complete. Roughly 6 to 7 hours are needed for this full maintenance cycle to complete properly. That is one of the reasons why sleep recommendations consistently point towards 7 to 8 hours per night. Not as a general suggestion, but as a biological requirement. Because without that full cycle, the repair is incomplete. And when repair is incomplete, the next morning becomes more dangerous. There is a category of people known as non-dippers. These are individuals whose blood pressure does not drop adequately during sleep. Instead of entering that restorative low-pressure state, their cardiovascular system remains relatively active through the night. This condition is more common than most people realize. It is associated with aging, chronic stress, kidney issues, and especially sleep disorders like obstructive sleep apnea. Sleep apnea deserves particular attention. During an apnea episode, breathing temporarily stops, sometimes for 10 seconds or longer. Each time this happens, the body reacts as if it is under threat. Oxygen levels drop, and the brain triggers a stress response. Blood pressure spikes, heart rate increases. And this can happen dozens of times per hour. Instead of a smooth, restorative dip, the night becomes a series of repeated stress signals. The cardiovascular system never fully relaxes. The maintenance window never properly opens. A person may sleep for 8 hours, but the repair never happens. And then morning arrives. The cortisol surge begins. Blood pressure rises again. But now it is rising in a system that has not been repaired. The arterial walls are less flexible. The endothelium has not fully recovered. The capacity to handle mechanical stress is reduced. The surge itself is the same, but the ability to tolerate it is not. This is where risk increases, not because the morning is different, but because the night before was insufficient. And this difference is often invisible. A standard blood pressure reading taken in a clinic during the afternoon may appear normal, but it does not capture what happens during sleep. That's why some cardiologists use 24-hour monitoring, because the real risk is not just the absolute value of blood pressure. It's the pattern. How low it goes at night, how quickly it rises in the morning, and how large the gap is between those two states. A steep rise from a poorly recovered baseline to a high-pressure state creates more strain than a gradual increase from a well-rested system. The night determines the morning, and the morning determines the risk, but there is another transition happening at the same time. One that affects how clearly you think, how quickly you respond, and how your brain functions in those first minutes after waking. While cortisol is rising, another hormone is leaving the system. Melatonin. Throughout the night, melatonin has been circulating at high levels. It maintains sleep by suppressing the systems that would otherwise keep you awake. As morning approaches, melatonin begins to decline. But this decline is not automatic. It depends on light, specifically light entering your eyes. Certain cells in your retina are responsible not for vision, but for detecting brightness and sending that information directly to your brain's internal clock. When these cells detect sufficient light, especially in the blue spectrum, they signal the brain to stop melatonin production. This creates a precise handoff. Melatonin falls, cortisol rises. The two curves cross within the first 30 minutes after waking. If this transition is clean, meaning you are exposed to adequate light early in the morning, your body completes the shift from sleep mode to wake mode efficiently. But if the light signal is weak or delayed, melatonin lingers, and that creates a problem, because now two opposing systems are active at the same time. Your body is trying to wake up, but part of your brain is still in sleep mode. This is what produces that familiar morning fog. Not simple tiredness, but a mismatch. You are awake, but not fully online. Your body has started the day. Your brain hasn't caught up yet. And this overlap affects everything that follows, because what you experience is not just a feeling. It is a measurable neurological state, and it has a name: sleep inertia. This is the period where your brain is technically awake but not fully operational. It is not laziness. It is not a lack of motivation. It is a temporary gap between your body activating and your brain reaching full function. During the first 30 minutes after waking, blood flow to your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for reasoning, is still below optimal levels. While your logic center is still warming up, your emotional system, the amygdala, is already fully active. This creates a temporary but powerful physiological imbalance. That combination has real consequences. Your reaction time is slower, your focus is reduced, and your emotional responses are significantly amplified. Driving during this window can be as risky as mild alcohol impairment. You might feel awake, but your brain isn't fully ready for quick decision making. This is why problems feel heavier at 6 a.m. than they do just a few hours later. The situation didn't change. Your brain did as it transitioned into full waking mode. It's not a flaw, it's just a phase. Give your brain the time it needs to fully come online before jumping into your day. This is a chemical that builds up in your brain throughout the day, creating the pressure to sleep. During the night, adenosine levels decrease, but they don't drop to zero immediately upon waking. Some residual adenosine remains, particularly in regions responsible for higher level thinking. This adds to the feeling of heaviness or sluggishness in the first part of the morning. So what you're experiencing is not a single effect, it's a combination. Residual sleep chemistry, incomplete hormonal transition, reduced blood flow to key brain regions, all overlapping in the same window and gradually resolving. Within 30 to 60 minutes, the system stabilizes, blood flow increases, neurotransmitters balance, the prefrontal cortex reaches full capacity. And the brain you have at 7:30 is not the same brain you had at 6:30. It is more capable, more stable, more accurate. And this brings us to an important realization. The first part of your morning is not just another time of day. It is a distinct biological phase, one where your body is active, but your brain is still completing its transition. And understanding that difference changes how you interpret your thoughts, your reactions, and your decisions during that time. Because once you recognize it, you stop treating early morning responses as final. You give the system time to finish its process. And in doing so, you reduce the impact of a phase that was never meant to define your day, only to begin it. And that beginning does something else most people never notice. It sets the timing for everything that will happen tonight. Because the morning is not just the start of your day, it is the control panel for your sleep. Deep inside your brain, the same structure that triggered your cortisol surge, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, also controls when you will feel sleepy again. But there's a problem. Your internal clock is not exactly 24 hours long. In most people, it runs slightly longer, by about 10 to 20 minutes each day. If nothing corrects it, your sleep schedule slowly drifts later and later. You fall asleep later, wake up later, and over time, your rhythm disconnects from the actual day-night cycle. Something has to reset it daily. That signal is light, not artificial light from your room, not the glow of a screen, but real outdoor light. When light enters your eyes in the morning, specific cells in your retina detect it. not to form images, but to measure brightness. These cells send a signal directly to your brain's clock telling it this is the start of the day. That signal anchors your rhythm. And timing matters. The most effective window for this reset is within the first 2 hours after waking. During this period, your brain is most responsive to light input. If the signal arrives at the right time and intensity, your internal clock stays aligned. Indoor lighting usually ranges between 100 and 500 lux. Outdoor light, even on a cloudy day, can reach 10,000 lux or more. That's not a small gap. Natural morning light is 20 to 100 times brighter than indoor lighting. When you stay inside, the signal reaching your brain is too weak to reset your internal clock. Over time, this creates misalignment. You struggle to fall asleep and wake up feeling unrefreshed. But stepping outside for just 10 minutes anchors your clock. This exposure determines when melatonin, the hormone for sleep, will rise 16 hours later. Light at 7 a.m. prepares you for sleep at 11 p.m. Morning and night are one continuous cycle. If the morning signal is missing, your entire rhythm drifts, making Mondays feel heavy and nights feel restless. The first hours of your day set the direction for your health. Start your day with light. In the morning, your cortisol surge begins. This isn't just about waking up. It changes everything by mobilizing your immune system. As cortisol rises, it triggers immune cells to re-enter circulation from storage. Within an hour, your body is scanning for threats and ready to respond. But poor sleep weakens this response. If the surge is smaller, fewer cells enter circulation, leaving you more vulnerable to illness. There's another critical factor, hydration. Overnight, you lose up to 500 milliliters of water. This makes your blood thicker and more viscous. Between 6 to 9 a.m., your system is under higher pressure with narrower vessels. Thicker blood during this window increases the risk of clot formation. The solution is simple. Drinking water immediately after waking reverses this concentration in minutes, thinning your blood and aiding your morning activation. Flow improves. The system becomes more efficient. It doesn't eliminate the morning surge, but it reduces the load, and that matters. Because what happens in this first hour is not random. It is structured, a sequence of events that unfold in a specific order. In the final minutes of sleep, cortisol production is already increasing. At the moment of waking, the surge begins. Blood pressure rises. Melatonin is still clearing. Blood is at its most viscous. In the first 10 minutes, sleep inertia is strongest. Cognitive function is reduced. Emotional reactivity is higher. Between 10 and 30 minutes, the brain begins stabilizing. If light reaches the eyes, the circadian clock resets. If water is consumed, blood composition begins to normalize. At around 45 minutes, cortisol reaches its peak. Immune cells are fully deployed. Energy systems are active. Cardiovascular stress is at its highest point. By 60 minutes, the transition is largely complete. The body has moved from sleep to full operation. And from that point forward, the rest of the day unfolds based on how that first hour was handled. Not in isolation, but as part of a continuous system. A system where each component, sleep, light, hydration, hormonal timing, connects to the next. And once you understand that structure, the morning stops being just a routine. It becomes a critical window, one that influences everything that follows. Because once you see the structure of that first hour clearly, something shifts in how you understand your day. What felt like a simple routine, waking up, checking your phone, getting out of bed, reveals itself as a tightly coordinated biological sequence. A sequence that has been running the same way every morning of your life. And it will continue to run, whether you think about it or not, whether you change anything or not. The cortisol will rise, your blood pressure will increase, your immune system will deploy, your brain will transition from sleep to wakefulness, your internal clock will wait for its signal. The question is not whether the sequence happens. The question is what environment it happens in. Because that environment determines how smoothly the system runs, how much strain is placed on your body, and how effectively each step supports the next. Think about what your body is dealing with in that window. It is managing a rapid hormonal surge. It is shifting your cardiovascular system from rest to activation. It is clearing one hormone while increasing another. It is redistributing immune cells. It is stabilizing brain function. And it is attempting to align your internal clock with the external world. Light changes the timing. Water changes the blood. None of these inputs require effort, but they require attention. because without them the system still runs, just not as efficiently, and over time those small differences accumulate.